Most people walk into the office thinking they've signed up for a job, but what they've actually walked into is a theater, a stage, a carefully constructed illusion where performance often outweighs productivity and where the person with the most power isn't always the one doing the most work. It's the one who looks the part. If you've ever wondered why hard workers are overlooked while smooth talkers rise to the top, it's not a mystery, it's design. In the modern workplace, perception is reality, and image is the currency of influence. It's an uncomfortable truth, especially for those who were raised to believe that merit alone would be enough, that being competent, honest, and humble would automatically earn you respect. But the office doesn't operate like a fair system of justice. It operates like a performance economy. And just like in Hollywood, the best actor often wins. Not because they're the smartest, not because they're the strongest, but because they understand one timeless Machiavellian truth. People don't respond to what is true. They respond to what looks true. That means your daily interactions, how you enter a room, the tone you use in emails, even your body language in meetings. These things don't just reflect who you are. They shape how people treat you. And in environments where politics, favoritism, and manipulation thrive, this can be the difference between being respected and being replaced. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone in a position of authority who clearly isn't the most qualified? How many times have you watched a coworker take credit for something they didn't do, but got rewarded anyway? It's frustrating. It can feel unfair, but it also reveals something powerful. What people believe about you matters more than what you know about yourself, and that means you can use that to your advantage. When you stop treating work as a place to simply do your job and start seeing it as a stage, everything changes. You no longer approach your tasks blindly. You begin to consider optics. You start asking, how am I being perceived in this moment? Do I appear calm under pressure? Do I appear essential? Do I give off the energy of someone who belongs in the room? This isn't about being fake, it's about being strategic. There's a difference between lying and curating. You're not manipulating people by managing your presence. You're protecting yourself in a system where image often decides your fate before your skills get a chance to speak. The people who thrive in corporate America are rarely just talented. They're perceptive, they're composed, and most importantly, they're intentional. They know that being seen as stable, reliable, and indispensable is often more important than actually being those things 24/7. Why? Because in the eyes of management, investors, or stakeholders, it's not about who you are, it's about who they believe you are. So if you want to survive the chaos of modern work culture, stop waiting to be recognized. Start building your presence like a fortress. Make them believe you're the kind of person they can't afford to lose. Carry yourself like your reputation already precedes you. Dress like a leader, move like a decision maker. Speak less, but when you do, speak with calm certainty. In a world where noise gets ignored, stillness commands attention. And in a system where truth often loses to perception, the smartest move isn't to fight that reality. It's to master it. Because the office isn't just a job, it's a game of impressions. And the sooner you start playing it on purpose, the sooner you stop being invisible. In the workplace, being good at your job isn't always enough. The truth is, people don't just evaluate what you do, they evaluate how you look doing it. And that's where the game of optics begins. It's not about fakery, it's about control. Because in high-stakes environments, how you're perceived determines your access to opportunity, protection, and influence. You could be the smartest person in the room, but if you look overwhelmed, lost, or replaceable, people will treat you that way. That's the cold, uncomfortable truth. So you must learn to master the surface. Look calm, even under pressure. When everyone else is scrambling, speak slower, breathe deeper. Make your body language say, "I've got this," even if your mind is racing. Why? Because chaos respects composure. The person who seems unshaken becomes the default leader, even without a title. Look busy, but not stressed. Let your calendar be full, but not frantic. Let people see you walking with purpose, not rushing in panic. You don't have to work 12-hour days. You just have to be seen as involved, in demand, and unavailable to petty distractions. When others constantly make themselves accessible, They appear lower on the ladder. When you control your time, you control your value. And above all, look indispensable. That doesn't mean kissing up to managers or showing off. It means doing your job so smoothly, so quietly, so reliably, that removing you would feel like pulling out a cornerstone. You become the silent center of gravity in the office, the person who holds things together without ever needing to boast about it. Because here's the truth. People remember how you carry yourself more than the tasks you complete. And in a system where perception often trumps performance, mastering your optics is not vanity, it's survival. Calm is your armor, poise is your power, and the appearance of strength often becomes strength. In the end, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to look like someone they can't afford to ignore. There's a quiet kind of power that belongs to those who don't react. In a world, and especially in a workplace, where most people are trapped in cycles of emotional reactivity, the one who can stay calm under fire becomes untouchable. They stand out not because they're loud, but because they don't flinch when others try to provoke them. That's not weakness, that's self-mastery. You've seen it before. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment in a meeting. A coworker tries to bait you into conflict. A manager questions your ability in front of others. In those moments, your body might tense, your mind may scream to defend yourself, but the truth is your reaction is what they're counting on. Because if they can make you angry, flustered, or emotional, they win. Not because they're right, but because you've just handed them your power. The smartest people in the room don't fight battles with words. They win them with silence, timing, and emotional restraint. They observe, they take mental notes, and they let others expose their own instability. You see, when you respond emotionally, you shift the spotlight onto yourself. But when you remain still, the spotlight stays where it belongs, on them. Silence is not passive, it's psychological warfare. It forces the other person to deal with their own discomfort, their own ego, their own unraveling. When you stay composed while someone else lashes out, the room doesn't just see your strength, they feel it. You become the person who can't be shaken, and that reputation carries weight far beyond one conversation. Emotional restraint is also protection. When you react too quickly, you often say things you regret. You give away your strategy. You reveal your weaknesses. But when you pause, when you breathe instead of explode, you maintain the upper hand. Your mystery remains intact, and nothing scares people more than someone they can't read. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you don't meet chaos with more chaos. You let people reveal who they are by how they behave when you refuse to be dragged into their storm. And when they go low, you go quiet. You let their words echo in the room unanswered, because that silence is louder than any comeback. Over time, people learn you're not someone to be provoked. You don't play petty games. You don't give away your energy freely. And most importantly, you don't hand over control of your emotions to anyone. Because once you've mastered that, no one can use it against you. In the end, it's not about being cold. It's about being wise. It's about realizing that the one who stays calm owns the narrative. And in a world driven by impulsive noise, calm becomes your greatest weapon. One of the most overlooked forms of power in the workplace isn't control over people, it's control over the environment. Most people waste their energy trying to change how others think, feel, or behave. But the Machiavellian mind doesn't fight battles through direct confrontation. It reshapes the battlefield instead. Because when you shift the setting, you shift the psychology. And when you control the environment, people often adjust themselves without even realizing it. Think about how easily our moods, choices, and confidence change based on subtle external cues. A room with poor lighting affects how we speak. The tone of an email shapes how we respond. Even who walks into a meeting first can establish unspoken hierarchy. None of these things involve outright power, but they frame the moment, and framing is everything. Strategic people understand this. They don't push, they reposition. They reschedule meetings when emotions are high. They choose neutral or friendly settings to diffuse conflict. They control the pace of conversations by adjusting their tone and energy. They decide who's in the room when important topics are discussed. These moves might seem small, but their impact is enormous. Because when you change context, you change behavior. Trying to change someone's core personality is almost impossible. but you don't need to. You only need to change the rules of engagement. For example, instead of arguing with a difficult coworker in public, shift the conversation to a private one-on-one. Instead of confronting your boss during a stressful moment, send a calm, well-crafted email later in the day. Instead of reacting on their terms, delay your response so that you set the emotional tone. These aren't manipulations. They're acts of mental clarity. You're not avoiding confrontation. You're making it winnable. Why does this work? Because most people operate on autopilot. They react to the energy around them. When you become the one creating that energy, the calm, the timing, the setting, you gain influence without direct pressure. You're not telling them what to do. You're designing conditions where certain outcomes become more likely. The beauty of this approach is that it's invisible. People won't feel like they're being controlled, and that's what makes it so effective. Instead of resistance, you get compliance. Instead of tension, you create flow. It's not force, it's finesse. And finesse always outlasts force. This is how silent strategists move. While others argue, react, or try to dominate, you adjust the atmosphere like a composer arranging a score. You don't have to change them. You just have to make the environment whisper in your favor. So next time you feel powerless, don't try to overpower the people around you. Change the setting, change the tone, change the rhythm, because sometimes all it takes to win is moving the furniture a few inches while no one's watching. In every workplace, there are two types of power. The kind that walks loudly through the front door demanding attention, and the kind that moves quietly through the back halls, shaping decisions without ever raising its voice. The first is loud authority, visible, performative, and often fragile. The second is quiet influence, unseen, strategic, and nearly impossible to dethrone. If you truly want to become untouchable in your career, stop trying to lead by force. Start learning to lead without being obvious. Loud authority craves recognition. It chases titles, speaks over others in meetings, and thrives on visibility. But what most people don't realize is that visible power attracts resistance. It invites competition. The more you flaunt control, the more others look for ways to undermine it. It's a spotlight that can burn you when things go wrong. Quiet influence, on the other hand, doesn't seek attention. It controls what attention sees. It's the voice in someone's ear before the meeting, the unseen hand behind a decision, the recommendation made in confidence that shifts everything. You don't need to be the most vocal person in the room to be the most influential. In fact, it's often better if you aren't. Influence works best when it doesn't feel like pressure. People are more likely to support ideas they think they arrived at on their own. That's the genius of quiet power. You plant seeds, ask questions, and let the outcomes grow in your favor without ever appearing forceful. This isn't about manipulation. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about understanding human nature and using it wisely. Want to become powerful in your company? Build alliances where no one's looking. Befriend the executive assistant, the IT guy, the HR rep. These aren't small people. They're the gatekeepers, and they can open doors before you even knock. Let your reputation do more speaking than your mouth. Do excellent work, yes, but also cultivate consistency, reliability, and emotional maturity. Become the person who stays calm in chaos, who listens more than they speak, who never gossips and never panics. You won't always get credit publicly, but behind closed doors, when decisions are being made, your name will come up in all the right ways. That's how silent careers are built, one moment of restraint, clarity, and strategic positioning at a time. It's tempting to want recognition now, to prove yourself, to show your worth. But the truth is, loud authority burns fast and fades quickly. Quiet influence, however, lingers. It builds over time. It earns loyalty, not through dominance, but through trust. And trust is the only power that lasts when the storm hits. So don't be in a rush to be seen. Be in a rush to be respected by the people who actually matter. And know this, when you have mastered the art of quiet influence, you'll never have to raise your voice to be heard again. There's a strange, almost counterintuitive truth about power. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who pretends to be harmless. While others posture, perform, and try to dominate every space they enter, The true strategist operates from the shadows, calm, soft-spoken, even self-deprecating. But underneath that modest surface is a mind calculating every move. This is the art of feigned weakness. Not to deceive for vanity, but to disarm for survival. In a culture that rewards performance, people assume that power must be loud, obvious, and in your face. But loud power is easy to measure, and therefore easy to challenge. When you appear strong, people prepare for you. They raise their defenses. They watch your every move. But when you seem weak, unsure, distracted, or even withdrawn, they drop their guard. And that's when control shifts. Faking weakness is not lying. It's redirection. It's the quiet act of letting others underestimate you so they expose themselves, while you reveal nothing. Machiavelli called it the fox and the lion. The lion uses force. The fox uses cleverness. The one who survives must be both, but in different seasons. And in the modern world, the fox often lives longer. In the workplace, this could mean downplaying your ambitions in meetings while networking strategically behind the scenes. It could mean letting a rival think they've won a petty battle while you're setting up the next move that will redefine the entire game. It's allowing others to talk over you, thinking you're passive, while you're gathering intel on how they think. This isn't submission, it's misdirection. Why does this work so well? Because ego is predictable. People want to feel superior. They want to believe they're the smartest in the room. So when you play the fool, they show off, they overshare, and they take risks they wouldn't take around someone they perceive as a threat. They stop being careful. And when people stop being careful, they become controllable. There's a deep emotional wisdom here too. Faking weakness protects your energy. It allows you to choose when and where to reveal your strength on your terms, not theirs. It prevents unnecessary battles. It conserves your emotional and mental resources for the moments that actually matter. And it teaches you patience, something few people in our reactive culture ever master. But make no mistake, faking weakness does not mean accepting defeat. It means playing a longer game. It means letting someone win the moment so you can own the outcome. It's about seeing 5 steps ahead and knowing when to pause, when to retreat, and when to strike. Not out of vengeance, but with precision. In personal relationships, this tactic can feel almost spiritual. When someone tries to provoke you or belittle you, the urge to respond immediately is strong. But when you remain calm, when you nod and smile without defending yourself, something shifts. They start to doubt themselves. They replay the moment later. They wonder why you didn't react. That silence echoes louder than any rebuttal ever could. And in that silence, you hold the real power. Of course, this strategy isn't for everyone. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and emotional maturity. It's tempting to want to prove yourself, to stand up and be loud when disrespected. But those who understand power know this. Sometimes the greatest victories are the ones no one sees coming, because the enemy never knew they were at war until it was already over. So play the fool if you must. Let them think you're small, soft, or naive. Let them speak first, move first, even celebrate first. Because when the time comes and the moment is right, you won't need to say a word. You'll already be in control, quietly, completely, and without a single wasted move. Revenge feels satisfying in the moment, but strategy lasts forever. The instinct to get even when you've been disrespected, betrayed, or humiliated is deeply human. But the problem with revenge is that it ties you to your enemy. It turns your focus outward, burns your energy, and most dangerously, it leaves the door open for retaliation. Machiavelli didn't preach vengeance, he warned against it. Because in his world and in ours, half-finished confrontations are invitations for chaos. When someone crosses you, it's tempting to strike back publicly, to embarrass them the way they embarrassed you. But ask yourself, does that bring closure or escalation? Because the wounded ego doesn't forget. When you humiliate someone, even if they deserved it, you plant a seed of obsession. That obsession grows in silence, waiting for its moment. It waits until your guard is down. That's why the wisest move is not revenge, it's erasure. To end a conflict, don't go after their pride, go after their power. Quietly, permanently. Cut them off from the resources, relationships, or influence they once held over you. Remove the oxygen from the fire without needing to light one yourself. In personal life, that may mean blocking, detaching, ghosting without drama. In the workplace, it means rerouting decisions, aligning with their allies, or reworking the structure they once thrived in until their position no longer exists. Erasing leverage isn't cruelty, it's protection, because a wounded enemy with options is dangerous. But a forgotten one, isolated, irrelevant, and disconnected, that's a problem that solves itself. You don't need to destroy someone loudly. You only need to make sure they can't return to power. This mindset takes discipline. It requires you to rise above the emotional battlefield and ask, what guarantees peace? Not momentary satisfaction, not verbal wins, but true closure. And closure doesn't come from making them suffer. It comes from making them unable to strike again. So don't scream, don't post, don't prove, just move. Calmly, decisively, and without looking back. Let silence do what shouting never could. When you erase their leverage, they're not just out of your life, they're out of the game. And that, more than any revenge, is the final move they'll never recover from. In a world addicted to urgency, patience has become a rare and deadly weapon. Everyone wants results now. They want answers, revenge, validation, immediately. But the truth is, the one who can delay gratification, delay reaction, delay even confrontation, wins by default. Because time doesn't just reveal truth, it breaks illusions, exposes weakness, and wears down even the most confident enemies. Patience isn't passive, it's precision. Most people confuse silence with surrender, but those who understand power know that stillness is not the absence of action, it's the preparation for the perfect one. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He didn't rush into conflict. He waited. He watched. He let ego, paranoia, and fatigue erode his opponents from within. And then, when the moment was undeniable, he struck with surgical accuracy. No emotion, no drama, just outcome. In the workplace, this looks like staying composed when provoked, delaying your response to a toxic email, waiting out someone else's emotional spiral. In life, it means observing people over time rather than trusting their first impression. Let others burn themselves out trying to provoke you, while you conserve your energy and build quiet momentum. Patience is what allows you to win without noise. It turns your silence into mystery, your restraint into dominance, and your delayed reaction into a move no one saw coming. When you don't rush to defend yourself, you force others to overthink. When you don't meet fire with fire, you let them reveal their own instability. In a culture that rewards speed, you become powerful by slowing down. Everyone else is sprinting. Let them. You're not racing, you're positioning. Because when you're patient, you're not just buying time. You're buying clarity. You're buying control. And ultimately, you're buying the exact moment when your move will be so clean, so final, no one will ever question your strength again. In today's fast-paced, competitive world, power rarely belongs to the loudest voice. It belongs to the calmest presence. The real lesson here isn't about being manipulative. It's about being strategic, emotionally disciplined, and quietly self-assured. These ideas teach us that success, especially in environments filled with egos and hidden agendas, doesn't come from fighting harder. It comes from playing smarter. Patience, silence, and self-control are no longer just virtues. They're tools of survival. When you stop reacting impulsively and start observing, you gain clarity. When you stop trying to prove your worth and start managing how you're perceived, you earn quiet influence. And when you stop chasing revenge and instead remove people's power over you, you find peace, not just victory. It's not about pretending to be someone you are not. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, and your position. In a world that rewards spectacle, be the one who moves with purpose, who speaks when it matters, and who lets their results echo louder than their words. This mindset doesn't just help you win in the office, it helps you stay calm in chaos, clear in conflict, and confident in who you are. True power isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself. And once you do that, there's nothing and no one you need to fear.